Hello boys, welcome back to another session of video tutorials, and this session is meant for class 11th biology students, and this is for 3rd July 2021. As all of us know, we have been discussing about chapter number 2, biological classification, and in that we were dealing with how exactly the various organisms are classified based on similarities and dissimilarities. And we discussed, we deliberated about what is most appropriate classification. And we arrived at a conclusion that though it all started off with Aristotle having the classification of enema and anema. Enema, animal organisms with red blood, anema without red blood. And then we went further with Linnaeus, who proposed two kingdom classification consisting of kingdom Plantae and Animalia. Then Haeckel introduced three kingdom classification with Plantae, Protista and Animalia. Copeland further gave four kingdom classification, wherein he proposed kingdom Monera, Protista, Plantae, Animalia. And finally, the most accepted version is proposed by Whittaker, that is five kingdom classification, that's Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. And along with that, he proposed that there will be certain organisms like viruses, viroids, prions and lichens. These are not kept under any kingdom, they are kept separately because they are considered as bridges between living and non-living things. And they cannot be classified as living because of their certain characteristics. Hence, we talked about viruses yesterday, and since the whole world is thinking of viruses because of corona, we said that after all, virus is a nucleoprotein entity, and it cannot increase its own numbers by itself. It requires a synthetic machinery of a living cell of another organism. Unless it enters into a living organism, virus cannot increase its numbers, and that is the reason why government is advising wear mask, maintain social distance, and use sanitizers for the palms, because we touch various surfaces which are dirty and viruses may be there. Hence, if we follow the cleanliness, basically being biology students, of course we should be always clean and neat. And further, since the pandemic is existing, we need to be extra careful, and there is no need to be panic, because if we are clean and neat, the virus can't do, because it is not a living thing. It's a non-living protein coat, as we discussed yesterday. And basically it has got a nucleoid and a capsid. A capsid is a protein covering having a genetic material with the sub-protein units called capsomeres. And we said that the envelope is the outer loose covering present in some animal viruses, rarely in plants and bacterial viruses. It is made up of protein, lipids, carbohydrates, and a virus without envelope is naked virus. The genetic material normally is RNA, but sometimes it is found that viruses will be having the DNA also, a double-stranded DNA, dsDNA we say, and dsRNA also is found. So we talked about various types of viruses with examples, and today we are moving ahead with another class of animals called viroids. These are highly infectious ones with low molecular weight RNA and no protein coat. See, at least viruses are having protein coat. These fellows are having direct the genetic material, RNA. These are smaller than viruses because there is no protein coat. It is discovered by this gentleman, thanks to him, Diener, in 1971. He found that the viroids cause potato spindle tuber disease. You must have observed the black spots on this potato. These are potato spindle diseases caused by viroids. Look at the size. Maybe the viroid particle, you are able to see this much size because of electron microscope. Otherwise, we can't see this much also. So basically, viroids are the smallest self-replicating particles. These are discovered by Dyner. They are infectious RNA particles which are devoid of protein coat, and viroids are obligate parasites. Next, we go to the another set of organisms called prions. These prions or prions, these are abnormally folded protein. Look at this. Look at the foldings that the prions have. And these cause some infectious neurological disease. That is the problem. They affect the nervous system, neurological disease. These are similar in size to viruses. They are big enough because of their complex structure. And they cause bovine spongiform encephalopathy, BSE, and this is also called mad cow disease in cattle, and its analogous variant is CJD, that is Combs-Jacob disease in humans. So here you can see the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease to the human beings and mad cow disease. Of course, recently many of the European countries, particularly England, was the sufferer because of this mad cow disease. There were even the European countries such as Swiss, they had problem with the bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and there were restrictions of export of the products of the animals to other countries. Some countries banned it, and there was virtual oral heated exchanges between Britain and other countries, and all this is because of a small creature called prions. So prions are abnormally folded protein structures that function as infectious agent. They accumulate in nervous tissue and bring about its degeneration. That is the problem. That's how the neurological diseases take place. They degenerate the nervous system. That is the problem. Common diseases caused by them are, as we said, BSE or mad cow disease in cattle, and its analog variant CR-Jakob disease in humans. So you can imagine if the nervous system in a human being is degenerated, you can imagine what would be the fate of that human being. All problems will arise. And finally, we are into the next one, that is lichens. Biologically, these are very, very important for us. They are symbiotic associations. You know, symbiosis, mutual benefit between two organisms. So symbiosis is mutual benefit between two organisms. Like I am giving a sweet, I am giving a laddu to you, you are complimenting me with a gulab jamun. So both of us are getting sweet but varieties. So this sort of association is called symbiosis. So they are symbiotic associations, mutually useful association. And these are plus, win-win situation. And this happens between algae and fungi. You can as well guess why this happens between algae and fungi. Algae being autotrophs, they give food, free food for fungi. And fungi having so many antibiotics will give protection to algae. So there is a mutual help. Hence we say the association between algae and fungi is always symbiotic. The algal component is called phycobiont. Now you must remember this technical word. Phycobiont means autotrophic. And the fungal component is called mycobiont. Now you heard about FM radio. You see, F for fungal, M for mycobiont. If you remember fungal mycobiont, FM, you can remember AP, Andhra Pradesh, autotrophic phycobiont. So you can easily remember. And since these two, autotrophic and heterotrophic, takes place, we say the lichens. And you must have seen in your own native places, on the green stem, there is the structures like this, slightly whitish green, okay, foliose, tree-dwelling lichens. And you can also see the big green lichens, and sometimes colorful also on the stem, on the stems of the plants. So basically it is the fungal hyphae which is protruding, and then algal cells. So the fungal hyphae are interjunctions, having interjunctions with algal cells. So a lichen or lichen is composite organism consisting of a fungus living in intimate association with one or more photosynthetic partners. That may be either a green algae or cyanobacterium, blue-green algae. The fungal member of the lichen is called mycobiont. I said FM radio, fungal mycobiont. And the photosynthetic partner, that is algae, is called photobiont or phycobiont. So we say AP, algae, phycobiont. The lichens are considered to be pioneer organisms. They are called pioneers because they may make a region suitable for other plants through the weathering in rocks and the accumulation of organic debris. This is most important. The organic debris will be more. Once the organic debris is more, moisture will be more, and the moisture is more plants will come up in that area. So the presence of lichens in an area is indicative of the levels of pollution, particularly air pollution. If there are no lichens, means air pollution is highest. In general, pollution is highest. If lichens are there in an area, it means there is a lot of organic debris and there is a lot of moisture. Once organic debris and moisture is there, other plants also will go. Greenery will come up in that area. So, thanks to the lichens, they are indicators of the levels of pollution or in general pollution in a given area. Hence, if you are lucky in your area, lot of lichens are there. Hence, thanks to the combination of algae and fungi. So overall, in this chapter, what is that we have learnt? We said that this chapter basically shows the levels of evolution. It is indication of direction of evolution. Why? We started off with the monerians, which are prokaryotes. Then slowly we went to eukaryotes, means there is evolution, the evolution of nucleus. Prokaryotes, we said primitive nucleus or nucleate. Eukaryote, very clear-cut nucleus. That means, after all, nucleus has got chromosomes has got DNA and RNA, DNA, RNA has got genes. So, genetic evolution has taken place. And second, we talked about the complexity of organisms. Basically, the monerians are unicellular, but as we move ahead with Animalia, it is multicellular. So, from one-celled organism, we have evolved into multi-celled organisms. And then mode of nutrition, basically it was chemosynthetic. In monerians, they break the chemicals present in the soil and obtain energy. From that level, we have gone to photosynthetic or autotrophic, then heterotrophic, and in that heterotrophic, high evolution, holozoic nutrition. So there is line of evolution. And then from basically say dependent to auto-dependent to heterodependent. So major ecological role that the various organisms play in biological classification is that some of them are producers, some of them are decomposers, and some of them are consumers. All three play very crucial role in having a good environment. Hence, producers must be there in an environment, decomposers must be there. Imagine if decomposers are not there, how pathetic our life will be. Hence, decomposers' presence is a must. And of course, consumers should be there, food chain should be there, food webs should be there. Then only environment